Hello, my name is Michelle Shagian. In this presentation, Melinda Waynes, Julian Hernandez, and I will be discussing the chapter written in the rocks of Jerry Coyne's book, Why Evolution is True. I will begin by providing an introduction to the fossil record. The two images below are part of the fossil record and have played a significant role in determining the evolution of life on Earth. In this chapter, Coyne states that the story of Earth is written in the rocks. The fossil record provides tangible historical evidence for the evolution of Earth and the life on Earth. Paleontologists, along with geologists, physicists, geneticists, and other professionals, have discovered approximately 2,500,000 species that have existed on Earth out of an estimated 17 million to 4 billion. While this shows that the fossil record is incomplete, the 0.1 to 1% that we do have has played a significant role in determining life's history. Without the fossil record, we would have a very vague outline of evolution. Scientists would have to infer evolutionary relationships from similarities in form, development, and DNA sequences. With this information, we would know that mammals are more closely related to reptiles than amphibians, but we would have no idea what our common ancestor looked like. Furthermore, we would have no clue that dinosaurs ever existed on Earth's surface. To gain a better understanding of the fossil record, I will now discuss how fossils are formed. When an animal or plant dies, the remains must find their way to water, sink to the bottom, and quickly get covered by sediment so they don't decay or get scattered by scavengers. Once buried by sediments, hard parts of the fossil become replaced by minerals. The remains become compressed into rock by the pressure of the overlaying sediment. Once a fossil is formed, it has to survive the endless process of plate tectonics. After millions of years, once the sediments are raised by the erosion of wind or rain, they can be found with the hard, time-consuming, and risky work of paleontologists. This whole process is straightforward, but its specific circumstances provide a reason for why the fossil record is so incomplete. The first is that most fossils are from marine organisms because it is hard for plants and land animal remnants to find themselves at the bottom of an aquatic environment. The second is that it is extremely hard to find soft organisms like worms, jellyfish, and bacteria. Instead, there is an abundance of fossilized bones and teeth. Lastly, there is a very short window of time to discover fossils because of wind, water, and weather changes. There are two ways to estimate fossil age. The first is stratigraphy, which finds the relative ages of fossils. This study began when geologists started characterizing and chronologically ordering deep rock layers, or strata. They began to see that older and deeper strata were laid down before the younger ones. By correlating strata and the different fossils within them around the world, geologists were able to assume the relative ages of fossils. Radiometric dating is used to find the actual ages of fossils. While being crystallized out of molten rock, radioisotopes are incorporated into igneous rocks. The radioisotopes within the rocks decay at a constant rate, or the half-life. The half-life is the time required for half of the isotope to decay. By using this rate, we can compare radioisotope levels at rock formation and present time to estimate the actual age of the fossil.
With all the knowledge presented to you, you begin to question yourself, is this really important? Yes, it is important, because it teaches us three important points, which are concrete proof that evolution is not just some made-up occurrence that took place, but instead, it actually happened. The first being that the fossil record proves the evolutionary theory, such as the gradual change within lineages, splitting of lineages, and the existence of transitional forms between different kinds of organisms. The second being that it shows us the order of these transitional forms, such as the emergence of early birds, which took place after the dinosaurs went extinct. The third and final point is the idea that new traits do not just appear out of nowhere, but are instead created from old traits, such as the the example of a mammal's ear bones coming from a reptile's jaw. And this concludes our presentation. I hope you have a great time and have a great day. Bye.
So, why is this important? Well, let's reverse time a bit to 390 million years ago, where the only vertebrates were fishes, actually. Now, fast forwarding 30 million years to, oh no, okay, to tetrapods. T E T R A P O D S. You would think with the excitement I had, I would have spelt it right. So these tetrapods would have very similar traits to modern amphibians and to earlier lobe-finned fishes. You can see here that they would have a flatter head, a distinct neck, and although not shown in the photo, they would actually have very well-developed legs and limb girdles. Yet they would also have very large bony fins so they can prop themselves up on the bottom of shallow lakes. So how early did fish start evolving to live on land? Well, if we look here at this timeline, and if we look at how at 390 million years ago there were only lobe-finned fishes, and at around 360 million years ago we would see terrestrial vertebrates, then that means looking in between, we would have to see transition fossils to get from fishes to land. Now, moving on to the evolution of birds, we can actually see a lot of similarity of skeletons of birds to the skeletons of some dinosaurs, which would actually show that they might have a common ancestor. So let's bring on the theropods. These were agile carnivorous dinosaurs that walked on two legs. And around 200 million years ago, there was nothing bird-like to be found. And around 70 million years ago is when we start seeing some fossils of modern birds. So in between this time is when we would start seeing transitional fossils. Now let's look at this bad boy right here. But if you notice, this guy has actually a lot of traits similar to reptiles. He has a jaw with teeth, a long bony tail, separated fingers on its wings where typically they're fused in modern birds. But there's one big thing that links this creature to modern birds. It's feathers. We can still use this guy as a pretty good example for what it's meant to be a mosaic evolution. So instead of being a full bird or fully reptilian, this guy has a few traits from both. Now, this guy, whose name literally means Chinese bird lizard, has kind of the same story. With the teeth and the long bony tail, this creature was far from being a modern bird, but yet it still has feathers. So we still haven't seen any organisms with features that can give us a clue about flight, but this gives us the perfect opportunity to bring up this guy right here. This four-winged, 30-inch long dinosaur had fully feathered arms and legs, which was probably used for gliding. So not only did theropod dinosaurs look like birds, but they also acted like birds too. We see that with this guy, whose name literally means soundly sleeping dragon. It has its head tucked under a folded wing-like arm, just like how modern birds sleep. So around 60 million years ago, there were plenty of fossil mammals, but no whales. And the modern whale didn't show up until about 30 million years later. So between that time, we see transitional forms. So why go back to the water to begin with? What was so wrong with land life? Well, honestly, we don't even know that answer. But we have a strong clue that has to do with the disappearance of dinosaurs along their fierce marine cousins, fish-eating dinosaurs. There is no competition with aquatic mammals for food, and no predators that would eat them back. The sea was wide open for an invasion. So, okay, what do we get from all of this? Well, whatever is written in the rocks speaks loudly about evolution. It shows gradual changes within lineages, splitting of lineages, existence of transitional forms between very different kinds of organisms. And with transitional phases, we see how birds would want to fly, why fish would go to land, and why land mammals would want to go back to water. And finally, evolution typically involves bringing the old into the new. Land mammals' legs are variations on stout limbs of fishes, the wings of birds were fashioned from the legs of dinosaurs, and whales are stretched out land animals whose forelimbs have become paddles. Whatever is written in the rocks shows awesome clues about evolution. And with that, I just want to say thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for paying attention. And I hope that this presentation has taught you something that you didn't know beforehand. Thank you so much and have a great day.